So this is your first appearance on Good Morning Britain since quite a few months, and certainly since allegations about you enhancing your CV, your personal CV, surfaced. That was in November, I think. As it is your first appearance on the programme since that story dropped, I think it's important that we ask you about it. We don't seek to embarrass you, but we just quickly like to go through it. It'll take me 20 seconds to summarise it. You told Stylist magazine that you'd worked at the Bank of England for a decade. In fact, it was only 6 years, and one of those years was at the London School of Economics doing a master's course, so that's 5 years and not a decade. And in biographies that you'd actually endorsed, it was stated that you worked as an economist at the Bank of England, the British Embassy in Washington, and latterly at the Halifax Bank of Scotland. But according to your former colleagues in your actual job, you actually worked in a support department at Scottish Bank, and you sort of helped out with admin and IT, and that's all earned you the nickname of Rachel from Accounts. Did you enhance your CV to make yourself look better qualified to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer if you won the election?
British politics is no stranger to controversies, but when a high-ranking politician like Rachel Reeves gets caught exaggerating her credentials, it raises serious concerns about trust and accountability. In a recent explosive interview, Reeves was confronted about misleading statements on her CV, particularly regarding her time at the Bank of England and her role at Halifax Bank of Scotland. While previous interviewers had been relatively soft on her, this time she was grilled over these claims, and her response left many unimpressed. In today's video, we will break down the interview, analyze how the public is reacting, and discuss the latest political developments across the UK. But before we get into it, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We are building a community committed to uncovering the truth in British politics.
I'm really proud of the jobs that I did before I became a Member of Parliament. I worked at the Bank of England in the international area, working on investment and productivity. I worked as the second economics secretary at the British Embassy in Washington. I've done an undergraduate degree in PPE, a master's from the London School of Economics in economics, and then I worked in the private sector, where I worked for Halifax Bank of Scotland, working in Halifax in West Yorkshire and around the country, heading up teams both in the mortgages area and in the retail operations.
Why did you say that you'd worked at the Bank of England for a decade when in fact it wasn't even 6 years, it was 5? I mean, that's exaggeration, isn't it?
Well, I worked at the Bank of England for 6 years, between 2000 and 2006. I was employed by the Bank of England, including I spent just over a year at the British Embassy working in the economics section there, supporting the government and the bank.
Why did you say it was a decade?
Well, I think it's one interview. I worked at the Bank of England for 6 years. I worked for then at Halifax Bank of Scotland, I think, for 3 years after that. I became an MP when I was 31. But I think in the end, people want to judge me on the job that I'm doing today as Chancellor of the Exchequer. I'm qualified to do this job. But in the end, people are going to judge me. Am I growing the economy? Am I improving their living standards? And I'm determined to do just that.
The point came when Reeves was directly asked why she falsely claimed a decade at the Bank of England. Rather than owning up to the exaggeration, she dodged the question, repeating vague statements and refusing to admit any wrongdoing. The interviewer pressed on, making it clear that this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. It was a deliberate attempt to enhance her credentials. The public reaction was swift and unforgiving. Social media erupted with criticism, journalists called for accountability, and Labour was left scrambling to contain the damage. This moment didn't just expose Reeves, it raised a critical question. If she can't be honest about her past, how can voters trust her with the future? 1. Rachel Reeves and the CV scandal. Rachel Reeves has previously claimed that she worked at the Bank of England for a decade. However, upon closer inspection, it was revealed that she only worked there for 6 years, with one of those years spent at the London School of Economics for her master's degree. This means she actually spent 5 years at the Bank of England, not 10, as she suggested. Additionally, biographies she had endorsed stated that she worked as an economist at the Bank of England, the British Embassy in Washington, and later at Halifax Bank of Scotland. However, former colleagues revealed that at Halifax, she worked in a support department, dealing with admin and IT-related tasks rather than high-level economic policymaking. This revelation earned her the nickname Rachel from Accounts. When confronted about these inconsistencies on Good Morning Britain, Reeves tried to downplay the matter. She insisted she was proud of her work experience and said people should judge her based on her current performance as Chancellor. However, her vague responses and reluctance to directly address the exaggerations only fueled further criticism. 2. The brutal public backlash. The British public was quick to react, with many taking to social media to express their frustration. One user pointed out that if Reeves wants to be judged on her performance, then the current state of the UK economy does not work in her favor. Since she became Chancellor, economic growth has stalled, leading many to believe that Labour is failing to deliver on its promises. Another user sarcastically stated that they were judging her, and frankly, she's doing a terrible job. Some emphasize that honesty, especially when it comes to a politician's credentials, is critical for maintaining public trust. They argued that embellishing a CV might seem minor, but for someone in such a powerful position, it reflects poorly on their integrity. Others ridiculed her response, with one comment humorously stating that they started drifting off while listening to her long-winded justifications. The bigger picture, trust in politics. Rachel Reeves' CV scandal is not just about one politician. It highlights a larger issue of trust in British politics. Voters are increasingly frustrated with politicians who seem more focused on image than competence. In an era where fact-checking is easier than ever, misleading claims are quickly exposed, leading to public skepticism and media scrutiny. Labour has positioned itself as the party of change, promising to clean up politics and deliver transparency. However, incidents like this raise doubts about whether they truly offer a break from political dishonesty. If Reeves cannot be straightforward about her past, how can voters trust her to be honest about Labour's economic plans? 4. Other major news stories across the UK. While Rachel Reeves was facing tough questions, other significant news stories unfolded across the country. In South Wales, a 12-year-old girl was viciously attacked by an XL bully dog, suffering serious injuries. The owner of the dog, Justin Allison, showed little concern for the victim and was later jailed for 3 years. This incident has reignited debates about dangerous dog breeds and the responsibility of pet owners. Meanwhile, King Charles hosted a special reception for MPs at Buckingham Palace, where he impressed politicians with his encyclopedic knowledge of different UK constituencies. His ability to engage in detailed discussions about local issues surprised many, further cementing his reputation as a monarch deeply invested in the nation's affairs. The real turning point in Rachel Reeves' scandal came when she was asked directly why she claimed to have worked at the Bank of England for a decade when it was actually much less. Instead of providing a clear explanation, she fumbled through her response, repeating vague statements and refusing to admit she had exaggerated. The interviewer persisted, pointing out that this was not just a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate attempt to enhance her credentials. This moment solidified public skepticism. People do not like feeling lied to, especially by those in positions of power. The backlash was swift, with journalists, politicians, and voters calling for greater accountability and honesty in political leadership. If Reeves hoped to move past this issue, her interview did the exact opposite. It brought the controversy back into the spotlight and made it clear that the public is not willing to let it slide. Imagine a high-ranking politician, trusted with the nation's finances, caught exaggerating her credentials. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor who promised economic competence, now faces accusations of inflating her CV. In a brutal live interview, she was confronted about misleading claims regarding her time at the Bank of England and Halifax Bank of Scotland. Instead of clearing the air, her response only fueled the controversy, leaving many to question her honesty. Is this just another case of a politician twisting the truth, or does it expose a deeper issue within Labour's leadership? Let's break it down. Rachel Reeves may have hoped that her past statements would go unnoticed, but this interview has proven otherwise. The truth always comes out, and in this case, it has raised serious doubts about her credibility. The public is demanding transparency, and Labour must now work harder than ever to rebuild trust if they want to be seen as a reliable alternative to the current government. Meanwhile, other pressing issues such as public safety and economic stability continue to dominate the news. The UK is at a crossroads, and leadership integrity has never been more important. Will politicians learn from these mistakes, or will they continue to test the patience of the British people? Only time will tell. What are your thoughts on Rachel Reeves' interview? Do you think politicians should face consequences for exaggerating their credentials? Let us know in the comments section below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates on British politics. We bring you the latest news, analysis, and discussions, so stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.